Hello, I'm Jared from Shaping the Silence, and today I'm going to show you how to assemble the current iteration of the kit. This would be if you ordered without printed parts. If you have ordered it with printed parts, it will actually come partially assembled. So give me 1 second while I reach over and show that to you. Here, like this. It'll be like that. All you have to do is press those switches into place. So that's this baggie here. You just take them, line them up, click, and then you push the hexagonal keycaps on top of those switches. It's like assembling a mechanical keyboard if you're familiar with that. So anyway, don't worry about that if you're ordering that kit, but if you're ordering the Barebones kit, this is how it will assemble. So first you get your printed parts. You want to make sure they turn out nice. I use the Bamboo Lab P1S to print these out, and they turn out really neat. I'm quite happy with the quality on it. And another thing I do is when I'm using PETG to print the frame, I scale it up by 0.39%, so 100.39% for the size of this, just to compensate for the shrinkage that happens when it cools off. Anyway, let's get into the build, okay? So first thing we'll need to start with is by moving stuff out of the way, and we're going to turn this over, and we're going to put the heat set inserts into the frame. Do not forget this step, okay? I've too many times assembled the thing and then realized I forgot to put the heat set inserts in, and it's annoying to get it in. Now, you do not need a press to do this. I have this tool because it makes my job easier, and I do a lot of these. So you see this? It's just a soldering iron. That's all you need, okay? This is just on a fancy thing so that it's less of a pain for me to do over and over and over and over again. You're just doing one. It's not a big deal. You're fine. Okay, let's go ahead and get this. Got some heat set inserts. Your kit will come with exactly how many you need. So let's go ahead and put these in place. Now they have an end that's sort of flat. And can I get it to the camera? They have this end that's a little smaller end. You press it down. My 3-year-old says you make sure you have the flowers on top. She likes to help me with this, so make sure the flower part is on top. All right. Let's go ahead and put these in place. And this shouldn't take too long if I'm going to do well. And I'll talk and talk to fill the space. Oh my goodness, bad habits coming back from live streaming. Don't do that, by the way. It's bad for your health. All right, now let's go ahead and plug this soldering iron in. Boop. And we're going to press them into place. So turn it on, wait a few seconds, and we are ready to go. So I press these down so that the top is just flush with the surface. Or sometimes I accidentally press it a little bit farther than flush, which is also totally fine. There's a little bit of wiggle room there. You're not going to mess up this whole thing if you don't do that exactly right. Oops. Dropped one. Come on. There we go. Now another thing you might have noticed is that I have the letter B written on this frame. I have 2 printers, and the skew on them is ever so slightly off. So if I print top half on one printer, bottom half on the other printer, it's ever so slightly off in it. While it will go together, it will have a slight curve to it, and no. So I've gone to marking the frames whenever I print out something to make sure that I have it matched up correctly, and then in case something happens, they need a replacement part, I can make it on the correct machine. Anyway, so those are all pressed in place. I'll go ahead and unplug this. Don't need it for the rest of this build. You'll need your soldering iron for the other parts though, so I just don't need that mess in my way. So let me show you a little bit close up. Yeah, they're pressed in there. Some of them are pressed a little deeper than necessary, but it's fine. That is totally acceptable there. All right, next thing we need to do is get the screen in place. And there's a part here that I always forget, so don't forget this. So first off, peel that. That's not the part I forget. My daughter is great at doing that for me. She loves peeling. And so we set that in, and now we take this. This part holds the screen in place from the back, so that way it's nicely set there. So it doesn't, like, if you bump the screen from the front, it won't press in. Anyway, I've forgotten that a few times, and I had to unscrew things and put it back in. A little bit annoying. You'll be fine. You're watching this. You know what you're doing. You're taking your time. So that screen's in place. Next thing we need to do is get our circuit board. And when I ship them out, I usually have the latest firmware loaded on them, or at least a reasonably recent one on here. So go ahead and plug it in and look at the lights. See that it's all working. So you can tell that these side ones aren't lit up, but that's okay because that's normal. That's what it's supposed to look like. Essentially, if one of these was to stop working, you'd usually see like one stop and then all the ones after it would stop working. But this is what it should look like when it's working. If it's not, reach out to me. Let me know, and I will get you fixed up so we can get making this, okay? So that's what it should look like when you do it. If you really want to be sure, you can use pliers to touch the contact, like not pliers, tweezers to poke in here to touch like the top of these three. So 1, 2, 3, touch the contacts here, and then it will pull the light up to there as well. But don't worry about it. It's fine. This is what it should look like. Let's go to the next part. Go ahead and take your circuit board, and you get this part. I almost forgot. This is the encoder. It needs to line up with these holes. So there's one side with 2 holes, one side with 3. So get those lined up. There's a little bit of wiggling that needs to happen here, and kind of squeeze the 2 large things on the side, large tabs on the side. Squeeze them in a little bit, and it'll lock in place pretty well there. All right, now we go ahead and set this on here and make sure that it lines up with the pins there. Now, this will stick out the front, so I have it hanging off a table when I do this next step, so that way it's, laying flat still. Now, get out my screwdriver. You don't need a fancy screwdriver. I just need to save time when I'm doing dozens of these. So that's what I have here. Little electric screwdriver gets the job done. Alright, then get your little screws. You have a few little screws, and these will mount the circuit board to the frame. Let's go ahead and get this. Now you see there are 5 circles on the back of the circuit board. I put those on there to make it easier to see where the holes were, because the first batch I did not have those. It took me way too long to hunt those down every single time. Anyway, let's go ahead and line it up so that it lines up with the hole there. Sorry, I'm just going to try to find where is it, because there's a little bit of wiggle room there. I'll use a light. There we go. Lined up the first one, and you get it till it just gets a little bit of tension on it, so that way the board's in nice and tight. I usually go opposite corners to get that lined up first, and then I go until it's just tight. There we go. Don't want to go too hard on those. And the last one in the center. Alright, that's it. It is now in place. Let's move the screws out of the way. I'm done with this screwdriver. I'll put that back and turn off the light on it. Okay. Next thing we need to do is solder it. So we have a few points that we need to solder. We need to solder these large tabs, mounting tabs on the side of the encoder to lock it in place. You get the button and the encoder portions, and then the screen things there. So we'll go ahead and do that. I'm actually going to move the camera in closer for that one, because I want to show you just a little bit closer, get you a better idea of what you're looking for when you're soldering. So go ahead and heat up your soldering iron, get ready, and I will move you in closer here. Whoop, 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 whoop. There we go. That's nice. Maybe, okay. That's, yes. Haha. Let's do this without getting in my way so I can actually still do this. Alright. Now, if you're not good at soldering, see if you can do a little bit of practicing before this. It helps. You know, you don't want to jump into this with, you know, rough skills, or you're gonna make a little mess. It's not too difficult though, so if you understand basic soldering, you'll be fine. So I'll start on the left side and just move on over. So I like to hold it in place for a second to heat up the things, and then give it some solder. So heat it up and feed it some solder. Yep, should look like that. I'm using lead-free solder because safety reasons. You know, I'm sure it'd be easier with leaded solder, but yeah. Oh, and when you go to these mounting tabs, you'll need to hold the heat on a little bit longer. They can soak up a lot of heat. You want to have it nice and hot for them too. So if you're using a smaller soldering iron, make sure you use the boost mode on it, like a TS100 or a Pine Sill. Use the boost mode on it for these to really heat them through thoroughly. There we go. Yeah, you should see them. The solder should flow really nicely into it. Get a nice clean joint. Again with that, hold it for a second, feed it the solder, let it go. Nice and easy. Yeah, when I was designing this one, I wanted to minimize the amount of soldering I had to do, because the first model I had to solder in all the switches, and the amount of fumes I was breathing in was getting a little bit insane. I did about a dozen of them one month, and after that I decided, no, I need a redesign now. This is bad for my lungs. And with that, look, we are all done. That's it. Just those 4 there, 3, 2, and 2. And then, oh, look at these little guys. Isn't that fun? You can hook up other things to it for fun. It's great. Let's go ahead and back this up. Whoop! And see if I can fix my camera angle to kind of where it was before. All set. Okay, look at that. All the soldering's done. Let's go ahead and test it. So now that it's soldered in, we should be able to plug in and see the screen. Hurrah! Oh, that's something you should test before you assemble it, before you solder in the screen. Test out the screen. Good way to do it. Let me go ahead and show you on another board. So hopefully you weren't just following along. Hopefully you watched this first. But to test it, go ahead and I hold the screen in at an angle so that there's a little bit of pressure, like this, a little bit of pressure behind it, not much, just enough to hold the contacts in place, so that way it's making a connection. So while it's being held in place, you plug it in, and then look, the screen works. I do this 90% of the time. I try to do it every time, because there was one time when the screen I used didn't work. Now, before I send out the kits, I actually do test the screens, but things can happen in shipping. If it's broken, let me know, and I'll fix you up, okay? Anyway, let's set those to the side. Alright, now we have this assembled. This is great. We're almost done. Next thing we need to do is put it into the frame. So you see right here we have this and this. Now if you try to press it in flat, it's not going to work because the headphone jack sticks out a little bit. So let's go ahead and put it at an angle. So you have these at an angle, kind of like that, and you lower it into place. Bloop, just like that. Ta-da! And it looks like a funny little face, little manta ray. Wah, 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 wah. Now, that's all together. Let's flip it over, do the last step of assembly. Just putting in those screws. Again, the knob, well, I guess it's not the last step. The knob's going to poke off the edge, so I hang it off the edge of my desk and get out the screws. I also have a screwdriver for this because, you know, you do 12 of these in a week and you decide that is not what I want to spend my time doing. For you though, you're just doing one of these. It's not going to be a big deal. You can do it with whatever tools you have on hand, so long as it's, you know, it works. Yep, and those you just go until they're, you know, a little bit snug, and they should be flush to the surface of the plastic there. It's okay if you go in a little deeper than that, totally fine. In fact, I do that most of the time, just a touch past the surface. Yeah, I should be doing opposite sides. This is actually fine though, because the frame is lined up nicely around the edges. So doing them the opposite corner. I like to do it corner, you know, star pattern, like on a when you're putting tires back on a car. Totally unnecessary. I like to do it though because it's fun. It makes me feel like a real mechanic. Sometimes you got to press down on it a little bit in order to get the screw to catch on the insert. There we go. That's better. There's a little bit of like the bottom edges, the bottom of the screws. They don't quite fit through because I had to make the screw hole slightly smaller so that there isn't a sharp edge that snags clothing on this print. So a little annoying design feature, but it works. You just got to push it a little extra to get it in all the way. And once you get all 11 of these in, you're ready to do the knob and the buttons. So let's see that. And okay. Now that is all done. Beautiful. Oh, we're missing something though. So this is the easiest part. Watch, you just go, wow, amazing. And this is the kit. Now, I'm not going to show you pushing all the switches in because, well, the guy who ordered this didn't ask for switches with it. And also, it's quite easy. So if you want to do that, I'll show you how you would do it. So you take your switch, you check the pins on it. Sometimes they are a little bit bent, so go ahead and give it just a little look. It should be fine though. If it's not, use some tweezers or your fingers, push it into place. You have the pins, you line them up with the pins at the bottom, so then you put it in that way, and then while this thing is plugged in, yeah, let's go ahead and plug it in. While it's plugged in, you push it down, and you actually should see, before it even clicks into place, you should see, yeah, the button will show up, so you'll see. Yeah, so I haven't even clicked it in and it still shows up. So as you're pressing it in, it should light up, and then you know to press in all the way. And then after you've pressed it in, you take the hexagon keycaps, line it up, press it on. Done. You know, times 140. But that's it. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the HexBoard, and I hope building your kit goes well. All right, have a good one. Bye. Wait. One more thing. I have cases now. These just arrived. I'm very happy with them. But it has a molded tray in there, nice foam to keep your HexBoard safe. So it goes key side down, presses into there nice and snug. It holds in very nicely. You can even tip it. So it's held in nice and snug. You have a pouch on the top for putting your USB cable and whatever other goodies you want. It's a carrying handle, and it's just really nicely made. I'm so happy with these. This is a $20 add-on to your order, so if you want that, go right ahead. And I'm going to make them as a standalone purchase too for probably $30, so look out for that. All right, thank you. Bye.